Hello, and this is going to be 10.1b lines. The first thing we're going to do is going to be finding a distance between a point and a line. Now, it will always go the quickest distance from the point to the line, so it will go perpendicularly. It's not like it goes out here. When we find that distance, it's the fastest distance or the smallest distance between said point and line. Now, there's a couple things that we need to be aware of. We're going to be given a point, so that's our x1, y1. And then we need the line in what's called a standard form. And so the standard form would be ax plus by plus c is equal to 0. Now, I know that's confusing because sometimes we think of standard form being ax plus by equals c, but that c has to be on the other side. Added on, it has to be set equal to 0 for this formula to work. So this is another standard form, which honestly is not too standard. So the equation for the distance between a point and a line is your distance is equal to the absolute value of your a coefficient for the standard form times the x1 value, your point, plus b, your coefficient of your y, times y1 of your point, and then plus your c constant. And then it has to be in the absolute value bar over the square root of a squared plus b squared, the coefficients of a and b. All right, let's put that into practice. So the first one we're going to do is find the distance between the point 4, 1 and the line y equals 2x plus 1. Now, one thing that you should notice is that y equals 2x plus 1 is not in the form that we want it. So we need to convert it to get it in that form. So the easiest method on this one would probably be subtracting y over. So now it would end up being 2x minus y plus 1 is equal to 0. And now it's in that standard form. And before you go too far, sometimes it's easy to write out your ABCs. So a is equal to 2, and then b is equal to this coefficient. Well, that coefficient is a negative 1. And then c is your constant, so that is 1. So now we have 4 as our x1 and 1 as our y1. Now we're ready to substitute it in our formula for distance. So distance is equal to the absolute value of a, and a is 2, times my x1, which is 4, and then plus my b is negative 1, times y1, which is 1, plus c, and c ends up being 1. And then that's all in the absolute value bars. And then it's over the square root of my coefficient of a. So a is 2 squared plus b squared. So now I have negative 1 quantity squared. And so now let's just do a little bit of math. 2 times 4 is 8. Negative 1 times 1 is negative 1. And then 1. So the 1's cancel kind of thing. And so I'm just left with 8. Over. So now 2 squared is 4. Negative 1 quantity squared is 1. We add those together, we get 5. So it'd be square root 5. And if you wanted to, you could rationalize. So then it would rationalize to 8 square root 5 over 5. If we wanted to, we could round to the nearest 4 decimals. Sometimes I'll just ask for that instead of needing a simplest radical form or something like that. So the answer would be 3.5777. All right, I'd like you to try this one. The point is 2, 3, and the line is 3x plus y equals 1. I'd like you to find the distance between that point and that line in the fastest manner. So pause the video, and then we're going to do it. All right, so this is my x1, y1, and we should notice that this line is not in our standard form in which we need. So the easiest way for me is just to subtract 1. So now I have 3x plus y minus 1 is equal to 0. So my a is equal to 3, my b is equal to 1, and my c is equal to negative 1. All right. So now, let's just substitute it in. So my distance is equal to my absolute value of my a being 3, my x1 being 2, plus my b being 1, times my y1 being 3, and then plus my c value of -1. And then it's over the square root of my a, which is 3 squared, plus my b, which is 1 quantity squared. So now let's just do some math. So 3 times 2 is 6, and then 3, and then -1. So we add those together, and we get 8. The absolute value of 8 is, again, just 8. So then I have 8 over 3 squared, which is 9, 1 squared, which is 1. So then we add those together, we get square root of 10. If we wanted to, we could rationalize that. So it would be 8 square root 10 over 10, and that could further be simplified. So then we could simplify it to 4 square root 10 over 5. If we wanted to, we could even round to the 4 decimals, so that we'd have 2.5298. All right, now let's apply those skills. So we're going to have a triangle with vertices -3, 0, 0, 4, and 5, 2. Now, normally a picture probably won't be drawn, so you'll just kind of sketch it out. So if you were to draw it, -3, 0, you got kind of right here, and then 0, 4, that would be kind of up there, and then 5, 2 would be kind of right there. And so then that would kind of give us a understanding of what we're doing. You don't have to be so accurate, but that's what we're going to be doing. Now, on the first one, we're going to find the altitude h from vertex B, a point, to a side C, or a side AC, which is a line. Well, we just did the distance between a point and a line, so that's what we're going to do. So my point is 0, 4, and so that's my x1, that's my y1, and then I need to get a line AC. Well, let's go back to Algebra 1. So we need to find the equation of that line between those 2 points. Well, all lines involve a slope, so we need to find a slope. So the way we find slope is y2 minus y1. So we have 2 minus 0 over x2 minus x1. So now I have 5 minus a -3. So I end up with a slope of 2 over 8, or I could simplify that to 1/4. All right, so now I end up having y is equal to 1/4 times, I'm just going to use point slope form, and I'm just going to use this equation right here. And so I have 1/4 x minus a -3, so it would be x plus 3, and then plus 0. So then I need to get it in that standard form of the ax plus by plus c equals 0. So we need to distribute this 4. So now I have 1/4 x plus 3/4 is equal to y. Well, they're fractions, so we need to multiply everything by that denominator because we need whole integers. So we need to multiply by 4. So now I end up with 4y is equal to x plus 3. It's still not in that form of standard form, so we need to subtract 4y. So now I have 0 is equal to x minus 4y plus 3. Now I actually have it in that form that I need. So my a is equal to 1, my b is equal to -4, and my c is equal to 3. So here's my point, here's my a, b, and c, and so we're going to find our distance, or in this case, my altitude. So d is equal to my absolute value of my a of 1 times my x of 1, so now I have 0, then plus -4 my b times my y sub 1, which is 4, and then plus my c of 3. Again, all in the absolute value. And so then I have over square root of a squared, which is 1, my b squared, which is -4 quantity squared. So then let's just do a little bit of math. So I get -4 times 4, which is 16. oh, I forgot, 1 times 0 is 0. And so then I have negative 16, and then I still have 3. So that's a negative 13, absolute valued, so I'd end up having 13. And then I'd have 1 squared and negative 4 squared added together, so I have square root 17. All right, I'm going to keep it like this and see what happens. All right, so there is my altitude. So on part B, it asks us to find the area of a triangle. So when we go back to geometry, the way we find area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height. Well, my height is just my altitude, so we already found that. So now we need to find the base. And so the base would be the distance between A and C. All right, so to find a distance, we just use the distance formula. So to find my base, I'd have square root of the difference of x's, so negative 3 to 5 is 8, so I'd have 8 squared, and then the difference of my y's, I'd have 0 to 2, so that would be 2 squared. So 8 squared is 64, 2 squared is 4. We add those together, we get square root 68. All right, so we're going to have a calculator, so we just put those into our area of our triangle. So area is equal to 1/2 my base of square root 68, and then times my altitude of 13 over square root 17, and I'd end up with 13 units squared because it's area. Now, the reason why that worked out nice and pretty is square root 68 can actually simplify to 2 square root 17. And when you do that, you'd end up with the 1/2. And so the 1/2 and the 2, those cancel. And then you're left with 13 over square root 17. And so the square root 17's cancel, and you're just left with 1 times 13, and we end up with 13. Now, all of them will not play that pretty. You'll mostly round to the nearest 4 decimals, but that one did work out nicely. All right, there is your homework. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. And this is the Incline Railway in Colorado Springs.